Here we go.
So welcome everybody, and welcome to the workshop today with our guest speaker, Phyllis. And I just want to first of all introduce myself. I'm Zaina Della Porta, co-director here at the 3D Coaching Academy by CoachWhizz. My fellow colleagues, Carol Vickers, who's also co-director here at the Academy, and our president, Tamer. So what I wanted to just say first of all is to welcome you all in and give you a little heads up of how we're going to kind of run the workshop. I'm going to start off just by introducing our guest speaker, and then we'll allow you to use the chat so that if you have any questions, you can type into the chat and ask your questions. We can start it off by typing your name into the chat now and letting us know where you're from. What part of the world are you joining us from? We know this is an international community, and we have students all over, and our community is all over the world. So we want to welcome you from wherever you are, and thank you for taking the time to join us. This meeting is recorded, so we just want you to be aware that the meeting will be recorded. We ask you to mute your mics, and your cameras can stay on and off, on or off as you please. We welcome you to keep them on so that we get to see your lovely faces. And am I missing anything, other details? Oh yeah, the most important detail. At the end of the presentation, Phyllis has agreed to put some time in there for Q&A so that you guys can ask your questions to Phyllis. So without further ado, I'll introduce our guest. So Phyllis Reid-Jarvis is a Master of Public Health, and she holds the PCZ credentialing with the ICF. She is the founder at Ultimate Potentials, a work-life flow business consultancy with expertise in organizational psychometric assessments, personal and executive coaching, customized conscious leadership, diversity and inclusion training. Phyllis and her team exist to support organizations and individuals achieve their work and life goals, one employee and one family at a time. I really love that. That's great. And I asked Phyllis to come because Phyllis is an amazing speaker. She has a wealth of knowledge and expertise from her own personal experience that she is so delighted and has accepted to share with us all here. The topic at hand is a small businesses coach's approach to sales and marketing. So without further ado, welcome, Phyllis.
Thank you so much. It is an honor for me to be here, and deep gratitude for sharing this space with myself, my ability to connect with all the students and your team. So thank you. It's an honor, and I'm excited to be here. So I always like to start by, of course, giving the thanks but I also want to make sure that everyone that's present here know that I will be speaking from my own experience as the founder, and I like to see myself as the chief external officer. So I'm always looking out to see what's coming that could impact our corporation. So I'm speaking from my own personal business experience. I'm not a sales and marketing professional. That is not my forte. And but I've learned how to do it, and I'm just here to share with you some of these know-hows and some of the successes, of course, but also some of the failures, because it's the failures that actually propelled me to move up into being able to talk about these successes. So I just want to put that caveat out there. Very, very excited to share this journey into how we evolve as a corporation from a sales and marketing perspective. We have multiple other angles, but this is the angle that I'll be focusing on. So hopefully everyone is clear on sort of what to expect. I mean, what I'm about to share with you has actually helped our corporation, Ultimate Potentials, just really connect with some very impressive clients all over the world. And so we had operations on 3 continents as well as in the Caribbean. And so we'll talk a bit about that. So the agenda is actually very, very simple. I'm going to share with you the marketing journey, as I said, and then I'm going to share with you the 4 fundamentals of a good sales and marketing strategy. And those 4 fundamentals are people, product, place, and price. And I know Zaina did encouraged you and invited you to write your questions and send them through the chat. And I just welcome your questions, because to me, that's where the learning really takes flight, is when we ask a question, whether I say something that might not be clear to you, or you might want a little bit more explanation for it to have some relevance to you. Please, please, please put those questions in the chat. And that to me is where the real, you know, brunt of this presentation is. Not just me going blah, 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 but it's for you and I to have that interaction. So please do that. Very simple agenda. So I always like to start with what guides us. And I know as students, you probably woke up one day and say to yourself, you know, securing a coaching credential, getting some learning as to how I can become a professional coach would help me, and you fill in the blank. And that's why you probably are here, because you see being at 3D Coaching Academy as an opportunity to take you closer to a vision that you might have. And you might have written that vision out. Some of us tend to walk around with these visions in our heads, but nonetheless, it's your vision that actually got you to be in this space today. And so that's what we started with. So the vision that you're looking at, we kept sort of, you know, refining it over the years, and this is where it's at today. And there's no guarantee that we won't shift it a bit, because as professional coaches, as coaches, we actually always are starting where our clients are at, and then work with them to take them to where they want to be. So I'm sure you can relate to that. So at this time, this is our vision. We are very much providers and supporters of true work-life flow. There's no such thing as a balance between work and life. We've come to realize that. And again, what we want to do is work with organizations, work with families to help remove that traditional division that's always existed between work and life, and instead create what we call a flow. And this is going to require folks like yourselves, once you've acquired your coaching designation, your credential, you finish your learning, it's going to require the kind of perspective that you bring to your clients to help them realize that it is critical for them to recognize what we need is this flow between work and life. And that requires me to ask some questions of my clients, ask some questions of my employer, et cetera, and my family, right? Because at times we have to flow. So instead, what we want to do here is really heavily focus on supporting organizations and families to flow between work and life, as I said. So that's our vision. And it's what we use as the carrot that's dangling in front of the horse. So the horse keeps moving forward, hoping to get that carrot. This is our vision. Our mission is what really helps us to get up out of the bed every single day. And this is what it is. We want to be the first choice by organizations to support the growth and development of their employees, because people matter. People matter at every single level. People matter. None of us can get here or got to where we are today without someone else. And I'll share maybe a little bit of my own story in that regard. So mission, vision, very critical. And if you haven't already started putting something together, it's something that I'll invite you to start considering. What is it that you're working towards, the long-term vision? And then what is that mission that helps you to get up, get out of the bed, and do it with energy and with just this love for what you're doing, because that's what the mission is why you exist. It's your intention. And it's one of our models that we use, where intention is what guides us. So once we've established what it is we're working towards and why we exist, the mission, we needed to make sure that we are clear on our values. So our values, they sustain us. They allow us to connect with the right kinds of people, the right kinds of clients. And it doesn't really, it doesn't necessarily come as easily as we would like to say, these are my values. Most of us think that we do know what our values are, but those are some of the surface values. It's that deep work that we all need to do when we go deeper to look within ourselves to find out exactly what it is that is under the core, deep within, is what we do or why we do what we do. So it's the why behind our mission. So they're deeper. And as you look at these 5 bullet points, I won't read them to you, they're very clear. It's what we believe. And because of what we believe, we use our beliefs to guide the quality of our work, to guide how we show up to our clients, right? To guide what we say must align with what we do. And so our audio, what we say, must align with our video, the actions, the things that you can see. So overall, these are the 5 core values that guide us. And once we got these written out and we got a clearer and more authentic sense about who we are as a corporation, we now feel and know that we're very proud to stand behind the services that these values help to shape. And these values, we're actually emboldened, like we become more courageous. Because of these values, to go out and attract those who believe what we believe. We as a corporation, Ultimate Potentials, we're not for everybody. Not everyone is going to want to do work with us, but there are people out there who believe what we believe and they want to do work with us. And so that's where the courage comes in. Once we're clear to take these values and lead with them to attract those people who believe what we believe. So once we've done this process, I mean, and this is happening over many years. So again, your students, you're learning about the beautiful and wonderful field of coaching. You, it's one of your best choices that you've ever made, actually, because I am a professional healthcare professional. I'm an organizational development specialist. I'm an educator. At the core of all of that, I'm a coach. I'm a professional coach. And so when you have supported your foundation with the learnings that the coaching profession provides you with, you find that you're better set to operate from a values-based perspective. And it's that values-based perspective that actually help us to shape our value proposition. And as I was saying earlier, this is a process that started many, many years. I'm entering my 29th year of being a business owner, and we've done many, many pivots. We've changed how we do business, the kind of work we do multiple times. But what has never changed are these essentially these core values and the fact that we know why we exist and we know the kinds of clients that we want to work with. And so our value proposition again speaks to what it is we're doing for our clients, what it is we're doing on behalf of our clients. So our value proposition is all around why we exist, and that is to help organizations, these organizations that say they place a high value on attracting and keeping the best talents. We help them to do so by making sure that they know how to use the principles of leadership, when we call it conscious leadership, and that we show them how to use as to shape the foundation on how their corporations, their businesses operate, so that their organizations can be experienced as being diverse and inclusive. And when we feel that we're included, no matter if it's at work, at home, at play, that creates a psychosocially healthy state. And that organization will be psychosocially healthy. That's what we exist to do. And it's what we live, breathe, eat, speak. This is why we are here. And so that's what we're offering our clients. So again, through multiple iterations. So don't be discouraged. As students, as you set up your practices, you know that maybe you did a first round of your vision, mission, your values, and then you're figuring out your value proposition, and you might not feel as if you got it. Well, we didn't get it at the first, second, third, fourth or so try. But what matters is that you keep honoring those values that are guiding you once you get them. And you'll do multiple iteration or multiple versions of your work, shaping your proposition. But at the end of the day, it's going to be so worth it. So I found we were much better able to also narrow the number of services that we offered. And so in the early stages, we were doing everything for everybody. Remember, I said earlier, our corporation is not for everyone. And as soon to be coaches working with clients, you're not for every single client. So it's important to make that niching of who you are and what you're offering and who your client, the client base is that you're targeting. And so that this process helped us to do so. And it helped us make way better use of our limited resources, such as our time and our money. So just to keep that in mind. So this takes us now to I talked about the four fundamentals: people, product, price, place. So product. And we have three basic products, but it's really one product that we have that we kind of tee it off as three. At the core of our offerings, it's all about leadership. Everyone is a leader. Whether you have a formal title or an informal title, you're a leader. And if you've never led anyone, that actually is not true, because you've led at least one person in your life, and that's you. And so that's why we talk about conscious leadership, the awareness that as leaders, we will never ever achieve what we've set out to achieve without people. And that's why we say people matter. So leadership is what we really do. And because of leadership, we work with organizations to help them become more diverse, equitable, and inclusive, as I said earlier. And when we have the equity and inclusion in place, we know it will create a workspace or homes that's experienced as psychosocially healthy, safe. And when we have those, we find that organizations will thrive. As opposed to just surviving, will thrive. So this is sort of what the essence of our product offering is. It's one product that's teed off to show almost three arms, and they're interconnected because it's leadership that influences a safe and healthy workplace, and it's leadership that influences whether a workplace is seen as diverse, a workplace is being equitable, and a workplace that's inclusive. And so that's the product offering. I hope you have some questions that you want to ask me about the product offering. I want to turn and look at people. So you might now be picking up that I really love people. I'm an extrovert, and even I believe if I wasn't an extrovert, I would still love people, because I've been around long enough to know we get nowhere without people, and we need the right people in our lives. And again, as students, you're at a very beautiful point in your lives, even if you're already working in an established career. The fact that you are students of coaching means you now have a chance to start thinking, who are the people that I desire to attract into my life, so that the calling, so again, the vision, the mission that I have within me, I can now bring it into fruition. I can bring it to life for these people who believe what I believe. And so people, I find they are at the core, very critical. Now, in the early days, I shared with you earlier, we did struggle to serve everybody, and it's normal. As business owners new to business, and I was not fortunate to have a formal mentor. And at the time when I started many years ago, coaching was nothing as it is today. So I wasn't aware of coaching. And so I didn't have that valuable resource that someone, a coach or a mentor, could have imparted on me. And so I struggled through failures, some success, some failures. It was like a yo-yo up and down. But here I am today. I'm sharing my story with you. So something worked. And it all happened actually when I decided to uh, just do a lot of different learning, and one of which is to become a professional coach. And that's where it just skyrocketed because I got to learn so much about me. And I'm sure that's what's happening with you right now. So when we learn about ourselves, we can better learn how we can find the right people, attract the right people who will connect with what we believe. And so again, I keep repeating this because it's so critical to our overall success. So part of the process of attracting the right people that we use is based on the Peter principle, which is 80% of our revenues, right, came in from 20% of our clients. And there's a bit of truth, a lot of truth actually, not a bit, a lot of truth to this 80-20 principle. So if I focus on the 80% of our revenues is coming from just 20% of our clients, why would I spend time working on 80% of the people who do not believe what I believe? I must spend time developing, serving, and just really honoring and being my best with the 20%, because the 20%, they all know others, and that's how you will grow. So that's one aspect of the 80-20 principle. Second aspect I want to share with you is this, and it's built on coaching principles, coaching ethics. It's one of the ICF Code of Ethics, actually, where it's the client now who needs to do 80% of the talking. And as professional coaches, we may speak for about 20% by asking questions, questions to shift perspectives and so on. And so you see this principle that works in helping people to find and discover their own truths, and it also works in growing your business. So remember the 80-20 principle. And so many of our clients over the years, we started with individuals. That wasn't a very robust business for us. We kind of struggled with that. But then we ended up through a whole series of very perfectly timed, being in the right place at the right time, connecting with some CEOs of organizations in South America, and then eventually in the US, and eventually in South Asia. We were in India, and then in the US, and on and on and on. And they comprised 20% of the people who were doing work with us, but they gave us 80% or more of our revenues. That is powerful. And something I need you to remember. So again, I mentioned that we do this with coaching, and because of that, it ended up taking us really around the world. People, again, we have to know what they value. If we know what we value and we know what our people value, then we are better set to decide, is there alignment? So if there's no alignment, remember, as a coach, you will not be for everyone. I want you to remember this, but you want to know the people who value what you value or believe what you believe. They're the ones that you'll align with. Practice the ABCs of coaching. I learned this principle from a fellow coach a number of years ago. I was in attendance at a workshop that she was a keynote speaker as well as doing a breakout workshop. She was amazing. And she said, always practice the ABCs of coaching. And the ABCs of coaching, it's really simple. The A is always, the B, BE, and the C, coaching. Always be coaching. As coaches, when you graduate as coaches, you're going to find that if you follow these principles, you will never, ever falter. And if you lose a client, it's not because you didn't follow the principles, but it's simply because they just were not people who believed what you believe. Never ever take it personally. So we talked about product, we talked about people. I'm looking a little bit here now at measurements, and we will touch a little bit on price, but I won't go too deep into price. And then we'll talk about place, and then I'll wrap up. So measurement is very important for us. And I believe, again, it might have been Peter Drucker who said, that which gets measured gets improved. How are you measuring your progress? How are you measuring your ability to, again, your students right now, and yet you're actually working on your most important client, and that's you. How are you measuring your progress? How are you measuring your ability now to be prepared for when you leave your training? How are you going to just kind of show up in the world? And once you get into your coaching practice, you will need to be able to measure your overall success. So with our clients that we've worked with, we have the provincial government, federal governments, again, telecommunication. We have a lot of those large corporations. And we do weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually measurements and assessments. I meet with the heads of departments, give progress updates, because people want to know. And even if they don't ask you, how are things going? Make it your business to tell them. Don't assume because they don't ask, it doesn't mean they don't want to know. One of the ways in which we actually do the measurement is through weekly reviews with my team. And of course, one of our team leads who takes care of our external communication, who actually 2 weeks ago got snucked away or swiped by another company. So she's gone. She was delightful, but nonetheless, we would have our monthly report. Networking. And I can't stress the importance of networking. So these are just some of the ways in which we actually do our measurements. We watch our performance on 3 key social media platforms. We decided that LinkedIn is where we want to be and must be, because that's where the people who believe what we believe hang out. We do a little bit of work on Facebook and a little bit of work on Instagram, tiny amount of work on Pinterest, just to kind of be there. But the bulk of our effort is on LinkedIn. We used to be on all the platform, and that would take up so much of our time that we just got watered down and we were not effective. Therefore, we chose where we want to be, and then we do the measurements to see how we're growing. With our newsletter, we have a newsletter. It's called Thrive. I invite you, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. And let me know if you want to receive our newsletter. I'd love to add you to it. But our newsletter, Thrive, is another way that we measure the impact that we're having on our clients. How many folks are subscribing or unsubscribing? Are they commenting on the articles? Are they doing the quizzes and the polls that we have in the article, in the newsletter? So we always try to add value to our clients at every step of the way. Is a value added guidance that we're using to take us there. So again, the early days of our corporation, of course, we had a lot of growing pains. I mentioned that it's natural once you leave and you set up your practice, but we had these growing pains in understanding our people. We're pretty good at it now. I believe and know there's still some room for improvement on our part. So I belong to chambers of commerce, more than one. I join business crews, networking groups. I join, organizations of all sorts and themes. I mean, just different, multiple groups, because I want to know what others are doing. I want to hear about their successes. I want to hear about their failures. And therefore, I can learn. I'm a very strong vicarious learner, meaning I learn by seeing or hearing from others really well. And I learn well or best by hearing. I'm really suited to be a coach because coaches are supposed to be listening a lot. And I learn best by hearing. And so, yes, in those early days, lots of growing pains, but I think we've gotten the formula down to a place where we're pretty good with that. So now we need to know and to be able to successfully demonstrate our understanding of the impact we're having on our clients, the ones we have right now and the ones to come. And we can only know that by measuring, looking at the impact, looking at it objectively, and actually tracking our progress. So our place pre-COVID-19, I mentioned, was it's always been in this platform, but only about 40% of the work that we did pre-COVID-19 took place in this medium. And about 60% we would be traveling. So I had a very hectic travel schedule, and I must admit, I actually don't miss traveling. I love the work. We still are doing a fair amount of the work remotely because no one's traveling, but it was a frenetic schedule. There was 1 year, that might have been, I think in 2014, it was an interesting year. I was in Spain, so I was invited to speak at an international conference in Spain. So I was in Spain in September of that year. I came back, and a week later, I was in South America. I came back, and shortly after, I was in the US. And in that whole period from that time, I must have been in over 15 different airports around the world. It got to the point one night I was in a hotel room. I forgot in which country. And I got up. I wanted to go get a drink of water, and I had no idea where I was. I had to sit on the bed and I had to say, okay, where am I? Where am I? It took me a few seconds to figure out where in the world was I. And then there was another incident. This time I was in Hyderabad, India. Same thing happened, but I got up to go to the kitchen and I was walking towards the window, and I was on like the 20 whatever floor. It was very high up. Got to the window, and that's when I realized I was walking to the window and not to where the kitchen was. So it sounds glamorous and everything. Make sure that it's the kind of lifestyle that you want. I believe the only way we're going to know is to do it. Is to do it. Do it, and do it 100%. Don't try it. Do it as if this is what I'll do for the rest of my life. And you will know that it is the right thing for you or not. And so I'm very happy working in this medium. And when we're able to travel again, it will be very, very different. I would not travel at that same rate as I used to. So that was pre-COVID-19. And of course, now it's all online and just using the various meeting platforms to help reach our people. So that's our place. And then price, very challenging to determine, especially now that we're living in a pandemic. And therefore, your pricing, it would help actually to do some research, of course, to see what your competitors are charging. We did that to give us an idea as to where to set our pricing. And then you can even hire a pricing coach, like a sales and marketing coach, who will help you to shape your price, what you will charge your clients, worth the investment. So of course, there are many competing factors to consider, and knowing the market will help and what the market is willing to bear. And those are all sales and marketing strategies for us to know these things. Then, of course, think about your time. When you graduate as coaches and you set up your practices and you start working, depending on where you're at financially, emotionally as well, you may undercharge yourself out of fear of losing a client. May I just invite you to disband that, get rid of that thought. Always set your price to reflect the value you're giving that client and the value that you give yourself. So there's two clients that you need to serve, yourself and the other client. So always remember that. Think about your time, the value of your time, and think about the relationships that you want to create and maintain, and you price accordingly. Our prices tend to be a bit on the higher end. Our clients have never blinked an eye. And I learned this a few years ago. I was invited by a international actually corporation. They wanted me to do a keynote. And at the time, this was very early on in my career, they asked me, okay, so what's your fee for 1 hour session, Phyllis? And I was very new, like a student just coming into the practice. I'm sharing this with you. So I said, oh, it's $3.75 per hour. And her face fell, and she knew me. So I felt she felt comfortable to say to me, can I give you some feedback on that, please? It was awesome. I said, yes, yes. She said, Phyllis, no one at this level that our corporation is at will hire you at that rate. It's too low, too low. I said, oh. And I remember there was another incident where, or event rather, I was invited to be a keynote speaker again, alongside one of Canada's top comedians, Brent Butt. I don't know if any of you know of him, Brent Butt. Again, I had put forward that $375 for the 1 hour engagement. Brent Butt was paid $25,000 for the 1 hour. So when I spoke with this lady who said, can I give you some feedback? And she explained to me why setting the rate at sort of the market, what the market is able to bear, is the best way to go, because large companies will not look at you when they see that you're charging something so low. And so I said, thank you very much. And I took that to heart and I said, we're changing this. And so what I did, rejig the fees. About 2 years later, she came back and said, can you do a coaching series for about 6 of our sales leads? We want to do some training and we want to get some professional coaching principles in. I said, absolutely. And she said, okay, and can you give us a quote, please, for what the fee would be? And boy, did I give her the quote. And she graciously accepted it. And I said, I got you. So it's important for us not to think that because your price is low, people are going to just love it. People will love it, but they might not be the people who really believe what you believe and who value what you value, and they will become problem clients. So I thought I want to share that with you. So finally, I'm going to be wrapping up. Marketing is coaching at its best. Sales is coaching at its best. Both require you to build a relationship with your target group, with the people that you want to attract. And coaching is all about the relationship, right? That we build with our coachee so that it's trusting, so that they know there's consistency, so that they know they're getting value, so that they know they're respected and honored to come up with the solutions that's within them. And that's why sales and marketing, they're coaching at its best. So as a way of really tying things together here, I'd like to remind you to remember the ABCs of coaching. Always be coaching. No matter the situation that you're in, take that coach's approach, wear your coach's hat all the time. And you'll find that your business, once you set up your businesses and you get going as coaches, it's going to soar. And now I welcome your questions or any comments that you might have of me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Phyllis. That was just wonderful. I've got some
Thank
questions
you.
from the chat, and then I see there's a hand raised as well. I wonder if you would mind if we stop sharing your screen and go to the
Yes,
gallery so that we can see everyone. Would that be all right?
absolutely.
Okay,
Oops, oops, oops. There we go.
wonderful. Okay. So Layla had a question. She said, how can can we merchandise with big companies as a beginner or entrepreneur? How can we attract them to trust us with their staff development?
What a great question. And thank you for that, Leila. So because you're likely unknown, it is important that at this time you start building the bridge. So we're going to need some bridges to get us into these organizations. And what I highly, highly recommend is if you can join a local chamber of commerce, join some business networking groups, but get your material. So get your mission, your vision, the values, as I talked about earlier, and the clarity of your value proposition. Have those clear so that when you're at the Chamber of Commerce or in these business networking groups and so on, when people say, hey, so what do you do? Oh, hi, my name is Phyllis. I'm founder of Ultimate Potentials, and we exist to support organizations develop their people for, right? So you're able to do that. And that's how you can start telling people about yourself in a safe way so they learn to know you and trust you. And then here's the other part to this. Do not hesitate to ask, who do you know who would be interested in what I have to offer? Always ask. Do not be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, people won't know that you want to know.
Very true. So Leila's follow-up question was about the 80-20. She wondered if it is risky to depend on a few clients, and is it better to diversify that risk?
What a great question. And we sort of fell into that problem by not diversifying. So yes, you do run the risk of if you don't diversify. So we've experienced that, but you nurture those 20% while working at expanding your reach to others. So you're not going to water down your time and resources by getting a lot of people who, some of whom don't really believe what you believe as deeply as the 20%. So you take, it's like in our, I always like to go back to the family. So I can't say that I'm a coach and I support people if I don't support my family, myself, my family first. So you're going to take care of those 20% as you would take care of your home, your life. Whether you live alone, you have to take care of yourself first because it's like the airplane instruction. Put your oxygen mask on first before you assist others. Take care of your 20% of your clients. Make sure they're number one. But in so doing, you're also going to look now at ways in which you reach out to others because 1% of that 20% can leave, but because you were busy also supporting and reaching out to others, you can gain another 1 or 2%. So you'll always maintain about that 20% ratio, but you're always bringing in new and fresh clients because you're working the angle that way.
Great, thank you. And Nelson had a question regarding as your measurement, offering specific key performance indicators. She said that companies and organizations need to see tangible results and outcomes.
So what was the question?
What about what about offering specific key performance indicators?
Okay, so one of the approaches that we use, so we do organizational analysis, especially for the larger companies. So before we actually embark on any work with them, we do the analysis that looks depending on what the needs are. So if it's engagement, we're going to do an analysis on that. If it is looking at talent and how to increase or grow or improve talent, we're going to do an analysis on that. Based on the results that we get from the analysis, any of those analyses, we actually then use the data to tell a story as to where the organization is at, where the gaps are, and what might be, what's working well, and where some gaps are. And then that's going to help us to know what then are the indicators, whether we've managed to close those gaps. So before we go into an organization to do work, I encourage you to factor into your proposal before you start working that, you know, depending on what you're asking of me, I would like us to spend, whether it's 2 weeks or a month, doing a bit of organizational testing, asking the employees, figuring out where things are and how they see those things. So the companies now will know exactly where any sort of a breach might be. And then the other aspect is if they're looking at talent management, for example, the analysis will let them know where they are heavily focused and they'll know where they're short. And so the KPIs, key performance indicators, will be, okay, we are missing these kinds of talents. So now we deal with HR to get those talents hired. And whether it's attitude, again, we need to know if people are respectful, if they're kind, if they're supportive, and so on and so forth. So there's an assessment you may want to, if there are any Canadians here, and it really doesn't matter if you're Canadian, you can use it internationally. It's free and it's available through the Canada Life. It used to be Great West Life Company, but it's now called Canada Life. And you might be familiar with it, but it's called Guarding Minds at Work. It's a beautiful, in-depth organizational assessment that looks at the psychosocial factors that impact organizations. So in the event you need something like that, it's available for free. They give you permission to use it as long as you ask them, and then they'll tell you how to cite the source. So for something like that, you'll see clear KPIs or key performance indicators in terms of psychosocial states of an organization.
Okay, thank you. Aya had her hand up. Aya.
Yes, thank you for that lovely presentation.
You're welcome.
Just wondering in terms of how to find like executive clients or like leaders for clients without getting involved in an organization. Like for example, like because I'm always thinking being involved in an organization would be consulting, and that's not something that I am too interested in. So I'm just wondering, is there a possibility that you could coach leaders without being involved in an organization? And if that's possible, how do you go about that?
Great, thank you. So let me just rephrase to make sure I understand the question. So do I understand that you're asking me, how do I work with leaders in organizations without being in an organization myself?
Without providing training to the whole organization.
To the whole, oh, individually.
Yeah, so it's like more like a one-on-one.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, I think I shared some of the principles. So again, it doesn't matter if you want to work one-on-one or if you want to work with 1,000 or 2,000 people. People need to know about you. If people don't know you, they will not do business with you. And I'm very fortunate to have, you know, worked in so many different cultures. It's a truism. If people don't know you, how do they trust you? So people will need to know that Aya, for example, is a corporate executive coach who works with leaders, one leader at a time. They need to know that. And the way in which you get yourself known is to be part of organizations online, whenever we're able to do face-to-face things, right? But again, the Chamber of Commerce, if you have something like that, business networking group, LinkedIn is amazing. There's so many groups that you can join, but don't just join them and have your name there. Comment, say something, put a post in, comment on people's posts, read their posts, and they'll get to see that Aya is very active. She knows her stuff, she contributes to others, etc. And when someone says, you know, I'm leading this group, this team, I really could use some help. I'd like to work with a coach. Do you know any coaches that does? They're like, oh, I know Aya, she does that. So hopefully that answers the question, but you have to be known. And I made the mistake in my early days. I was like this, blinders, just in my own little world, and I expect people to find me. So is that helpful?
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask about, you said that to find people that believe in the same value, that have similar values. How would you know someone has similar values? I mean, I guess.
That is so great. It's a great question. You do. You absolutely do. So you have to spend time with them.
Mm,
Yeah. And we always start off by looking at someone's website. It's as simple as that. So you look at their website, you look at their offerings, you look at how they are presenting their offerings, right? If they have a vision, a mission statement, you read it. And then you go on to social media and you look them up on LinkedIn and you want to see the kind of person that they're presenting, read some of their posts, right? And then you are going to book a one-on-one with them. I do that. I met with Zaina and Carol. We had such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful discussion. Why?
mhm,
I could tell the values were aligned.
Mhm.
But I ask questions. They'll confirm. I
Yes.
ask them questions. And so for that, you have to do the work because you're not for everybody and everybody is not for you. So do the work, find out the people who are for you, and those are the people you want to really run with.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Leila, I have another question from you. I wondered if you'd like to come on screen and ask it or whether I should read it for you. I can read it if that's easiest. What Leila's question was, do you believe in partnerships for a beginner or an entrepreneur to grow his or her business?
I'm only laughing because I've been there. I'm going to say cautiously when you first get started, you might be better off going alone. Get to know yourself, know your values, know your, you know, like the sort of who you are, your ups and your downs. Get to know yourself before it's like a marriage. So you don't sometimes you will never know your spouse 100%, but it's important to take some time to kind of understand some fundamental, again, values that this person that you're going to attach your business and yourself with. Get to know and understand their values. Spend some time work on a project with them first. So you have a project, a decent sized project, just say, hey, no commitment. At the end of the project, we go our separate ways. But you want to see how you're working with them, how they're working with you, what is their work ethic? Is it something that's similar to what you value before you enter into a formal partnership? Because like marriage, it's so easy to get married, but it's so hard to end it.
It's true.
Yeah. So I would say, no, right off the bat, know yourself first, know your business, understand your rhythms first.
Right. Pass it over to Tamer, but I just wanted to let everyone know that I found that resource, Phyllis, that you spoke of from Canada Life, and I put the
Excellent.
link in the chat so people can
Excellent.
access it.
Yes, it's a wonderful resource.
Pass it to Tamer.
Hello, everyone. So this webinar has been recorded. We're going to post it on the website. It's going to be a new page on the website under resources called webinars. We're going to have this webinar and the one before, and we're going to be having all the webinars up there. We will be sharing the link also that Carol shared, that Phyllis shared in the website in the description. I don't know, will you be sharing also the slides of the presentation, Phyllis, with us?
Oh, you can get the slides, yes.
Okay, so this is, we will be sharing this by email to everyone. We would like to thank you, and we have a lot coming in the future also.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you. All the best, everyone, with your studies. Good luck. And look me up on LinkedIn and let's stay connected. Yeah,
I think
for
it would
sure.
be marvelous.
Take care.
Thank you
Zaina,
so much.
Carol, Tamer, thank you for this
Oh,
opportunity.
you're so
I
welcome,
appreciate
Phyllis.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Sure.
much. It was
That was
wonderful
great.
Thank you so
webinar.
much.
Bye-bye.
Great value. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.